Fantastic. Now let's get the show on the road once again. My name is Victor. Welcome to the program. It's now time for me to take a look at what's on the front pages of our local dailies, and I'll be joined in studio just to discuss this further, even as we look at what happened on the political scene on Iron Politics. With me in studio, I have got Wakili Kevin Katisya, who is an advocate of the High Court. Karibu sana, Wakili.
Thank you.
As well as Dr. Joseph Rotich, who is a political science and analyst as well.
Thank you so much, Ola.
Actually, he's an economist.
I'm an economist by profession.
We'll talk about matters economy and fuel in jiffy, but then let me take you through front pages of our local dailies. Let me start with the Daily Nation. On the front page, where is the fuel? That is what's on the front page of the Daily Nation. Long winding queues running into the dead of the night are becoming increasingly common in petrol stations across the country as the fuel shortage threatens to spiral into a full-blown crisis, paralyzing the transport sector and drowning economic activities that had just started recovering from 2 years of restriction and lockdowns. Who is to blame, and is the country slowly grinding to a halt? That is what's on the front page of the Daily Nation here. President Kenyatta, Raila attack could have quote-unquote banned the nation. President Kenyatta cautions against political intolerance and violence, even as two was in issue. MPs and the county speaker are questioned on the Friday incident. That's also the front page of the Daily Nation. We have got pictorials there of long queues and motorists queuing to get that precious commodity, the fuel crisis in the country, rocking this particular nation at this particular point. But KBC has said that the country has enough fuel stocks and that ships are waiting at the dock to offload more supplies. Okay, so who is to blame? Okay, that's what's the front page of the Daily Nation. On the People Daily here, Uhuru wants insiders after attack on Raila. The president said that they are playing with fire as detectives claimed two MPs and was in Gishu speaker have a case to answer. All right. Again, ODM faces nomination backlash. This is something that aspirants are casting aspersions on decisions to give direct tickets to tickets based on an opinion poll. Many say is strange and doubt in its efficacy. That's also the front page of the People Daily. Very quickly onto the Star. Uhuru stoning Raila would have set country on fire. Kosetan confesses youth paid to stone and heckle former Prime Minister. That was the front page here. President says that Ruto team insulted him on his doorstep. There you have it. And again, still on the front page, you have got fuel shortage. Crisis deepens as state and oil marketers pay row intensifies. Again, border man suspected of robbing foreigner. He's been arrested, and they say that he stole her M-Pesa money and abandoned her in Ngong area. The suspect, identified as Protas Onsongo, was arrested hours after the incident. Okay, and finally on the Standard, Raila attack, MPs grilled. This year he summons 3 politicians to shed light on incident that has shone spotlight on election-related violence. President condemns incitement, says that all aspirants should be free. All aspirants should be free to campaign in any part of the country. Motorists suffer as fuel crisis hits more regions. Now, what is the story here? It says that the marketers, that's the oil marketers, are saying that they have not been paid about 32 billion shillings, a figure that the Ministry of Petroleum and Mining disputes, saying that it is only 13 billion shillings that is outstanding. This is not the first time that the marketers have protested the delays. So that is the reason why we are having that problem of fuel across the country. And actually start with you, Daktari. This is something that probably is still denting many people's pockets, because even me, way in Homa Bay County, a liter of petrol was going for 210 shillings in some pumps,
I tell you, Lord, this is the most unfortunate thing that is happening to our country, and the reason being that the suppliers claims that they are yet to be paid their dues.
Yes.
And it shows how weak link we have as a government dealing with our business people. Because it is unfortunate, because if they say that they have not been paid, the disputed amount has not been paid. And has there been no recording of the transactions which were done? How could we have a disagreement between the suppliers and the government of failing to meet the same? It shows that the sector is disorganized. Although I can tell you the agony that Kenyans are facing today, for the last 3-4 days, it has been the worst thing that I've ever seen. I queued myself in Kericho, there was no fuel, and more so this petrol was actually missing.
The worst affected is super petrol.
And it has affected the economy very bad, because much of what is being moved, it is moved by fuel. And that means most of the vehicles stalled, and even some commuters had to pay more. They had to dip more into their pockets to pay the fare, which was not necessary in the first place because of the disagreement of some people. And these are things, the law, that are supposed to be, solved before the innocent people are punished by those who knows what they are doing. Because even Kenyans today are asking, where is the fuel? And that is the question that majority of Kenyans are asking.
Yes.
Yet the government knows where the problem is. The suppliers know.
KBC says that there's enough fuel in the country, and chances are that by Wednesday the issue will be resolved. But Wakili, when you look at the whole scenario, this is unnecessary, right?
Yes. I agree with you, because there needs to be laws which govern the relationship between the government and these oil marketers. The question we should ask ourselves is there any law to do the same? We should have what you can call Petroleum Development Levy Fund Act, which should be passed to regulate how the players in the oil sector and the government and also the consumers relate with each other. Because as the Dr. has said, the government
very low in a number of years since the pandemic, the corona pandemic, and so many other problems that this country have actually faced, and more so the mega projects that this country is actually undertaking, and of course the mega projects that have got timelines. And these are some of the causes, because you could not really have some money which of course may be demanded in a month or two when there's a problem that is pressing now. And that is actually the nature of a developing country. A country that is developing must always budget its resources, even at the last hour. So in this case, the only problem is that since you cannot really be very sure as to how much you can collect within that span of time to enable you pay whatever you reallocated to the other part on time, then all these problems will not have been facing. Otherwise, when we have got very little resources, and of course it is not only Kenyans who are feeling low, it is all the government, because if the sales are not there, that means the government is not getting any taxes from the business or from these enterprises. So in this case, it is a problem that has affected both the common man and the government itself, as far as the issues of collection of revenue is concerned.
Doctor, I'm told that you have a full tank of petrol. Do you need security with you?
Security, I don't need security. I'm a very poor man.
Because you have a full
like I don't long to see myself in future, being secured, because I've always had a feeling and the confidence that I'm a very clean man that does not need any security.
It's Wakili who have maybe a full tank, so you need some armed security around you.
Maybe the land grabbers and the looters.
Okay, so when you look at the back and forth, the push and pull between the KPC says that there's enough fuel. We have enough fuel in the depot, and ships in Mombasa are still waiting to offload fuel. But then now, For how long? As you said, there should be some legal framework that should be put in place to guide both the consumer and the supplier.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know, interestingly, although you heard yesterday the president said that we should blame this fuel crisis to the Russia-Ukraine war. And I believe since already the KBC is saying that we have enough fuel.
Yes.
How does Russia-Ukraine war come in the issue of payment of subsidies to oil marketers? Yeah, you know, we must be genuine and honest to Kenyans. And the way Dr. said, I think there is a crisis in the government. Yeah, I saw the MPs, of course, will summon the Energy CS, Monica Juma, and ask her questions. The PS for petroleum, Bwana Andrew Kamau, has promised to meet all the oil marketers and discuss these issues. Yeah, the question is, before we found ourselves in this crisis, what were the leaders doing? Today, I've been told that there is a looming strike by the Matatu sector. How will Kenyans go to work? Yeah. So I think it is a question of prioritizing government projects. Because as we speak, I'm sure there are other government projects which are ongoing.
Yes.
But what are our priorities? I think that's the question we should ask ourselves. And of course, because it is the political season, you have heard politicians politicizing this issue when innocent Kenyans are suffering. So I think politics aside, the government should deliver on its mandate and ensure that innocent Kenyans do not suffer consequences of what I may call poor policy implementation.
Exactly.
Yes.
Economically speaking, Dr. The common person is going to have that pain at the pump and again that dent in the pocket. But will it come down? It's retailing at 180 shillings in some parts of the country. Some places don't have fuel. Are we like to see a situation where the economy is going to have some kind of a stability and you and I are going to feel some, you know, some relief at the end of the day?
I think there's something that is not always spoken or law, but it is a reality in itself. Because you must also be very much aware and up to the fact that those who are in the government are also the game players, the chief game players in the petroleum business. So some of the policies sometimes are passed to influence the process to change the prices or increase the prices. So in this case, once we link the government and the government functionaries in the business that is always associated with private investors, I think that will be the beginning of our success. Because the chief players in the petroleum sector, those who are selling these fuels, are also very important personalities in the government. They are policy makers.
Yes.
And you are expecting them to lie low and say we reduce the prices. That cannot happen.
So conflict of interest taking
it is actually conflict of interest. The one that we are really, that Kenyans are facing, some of them are caused by their own leaders. So in this case, I think it is a high time that Kenyans become more responsive, even to the common man. Because, and even then, this country cannot move without really moving, people moving their goods and services from one place to another place. So it is a high time that Kenyans be told the truth of the matter, not that the government has failed to pay the pending debts to the suppliers.
Yes.
How did it happen?
How did it happen?
Even if you ask us, how did it happen? The government failed to pay. It cannot happen. And then there is some dispute. Dispute over what? Yet the business has been very clear. These are high-level businesses. How can you fail to capture that maybe the 13 or 32 million? Those are two different figures of wide difference. There is something more deeper than what we are seeing alone. So, Kenyans must be told the truth because imampi ya mafuta ni real and it is a problem to Kenyans.
Imampi ya mafuta ni real and it's a problem to Kenyans. Okay, let's talk about some education matters. And now we are told that KCSE marking starts today, according to CS George Magoha, and it will end in 2 weeks' time, and thereafter parents and students will have to know their fate, and the exercise will take place in 35 centers and will be completed in 2 weeks' time. Now, according to the Kenya National Examination Council, 831,000 and 15 candidates registered for the 2021 KCSE examination in 10,413 centers. That is according to the education CS there. Okay, now let's take a break. When we come back, now we are going into the real flesh of the discussion here. We are going to talk about matters politics, whatever happened over the weekend, and what we should expect in the coming week and even weeks ahead. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Now we have got a full pack house, and Dr. has just joined us. Dr. Richard Bosire has just joined us in the studio here. Dr. your seat has sunk again.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll sort that on briefly. Okay, so let's get into the discussion here and take a look at what happened over the weekend. Starting with you, Dr. Rotich, whatever happened on the front page of the Standard. Director, if perhaps we can have that story of the president talking about where the attack on Raila Odinga, if you have that story ready, Dr. Director? Yes, we want to listen to that story where the president was talking about violence and why it should not happen. All right. So the president basically said that attack on Raila Odinga would have set the country on fire. Let me start with you, Dr. Rotich. What do you make of that, whatever happened last week?
I think, Olo, before I come to that, Olo, let me say the attack on his right honorable Raila Odinga in Eldoret was the most unfortunate thing. It was a barbaric way of expressing oneself as far as politics is concerned. And that actually deserved the condemnation of all the leadership in this country. And it should not happen again.
Right.
It should not happen again. But just that away, Bwana Olo, you know very well that this thing has been there for some time now. When you saw what happened or what transpired over the weekend during the burial of Gibor, is not something that we have not witnessed before.
Yes.
You remember Chimi Wanjiki was stoned in Migori. You remember His Excellency, the Deputy President, was stoned in Kondele, and then somewhere in Kiambu, some time back. And not the two of those received the kind of condemnation that Kenyans have said about what really transpired to the helicopter of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. I don't know at what level do we Kenyans wake up all of a sudden and realize that whatever we have been seeing, whatever we have been observing in other places, now is real that we must condemn. Because I can remember when the same thing was made on the Deputy President, there were some leaders who were asking, you people from these regions, can you speak out something against the whole idea? Nobody ever spoke about the whole thing. And now that when we come in a full blast that this thing was very bad as it transpired in Eldoret, I can see some prejudice there. I don't see honest in the whole thing because, and let me tell you, Lo, when any bad thing happened to a Kenyan, be it a border rider, be it a Mkokoteni driver, be it a car driver, be it whatever nature, made it on Kenyans, it must receive the same condemnation as we saw in Eldoret after the stoning of the helicopter, of Right Honorable Raila Odinga.
Okay.
So we must learn in Kenyans that we must respect every citizen. We must respect Kenyans in their respective status. Not necessarily that you have to be huge, short, dwarf to receive that kind of condemnation. You saw what happened recently, although, when this issue that happened at the Forest Road, where some lady was molested by some goons, border. Then the whole borders in the country were harassed. Some of them were put in, their borders were confiscated, they had to pay up all sorts of things. And such reactive approaches, I think Kenyans, we must refuse. And whatever we do to every ordinary Kenyan must also be done to everybody in this country, so that we may be seen to be respecting the law and not actually practicing what I may call selective justice.
All right.
What happened in Eldoret is something very bad.
Okay. Let's take a look at
just as bad as what happened in Condemning, just as bad as what happened to Chimi Wanjigi in Migori. And that should have received the same condemnation.
Absolutely, or absolutely. Now let's take a look at that story where the president was yesterday. The president spoke about that issue and about political violence and intolerance. Let's talk about that.
Pipeline Embakasi South in Nairobi. President Kenyatta was the chief guest at the Africa Inland Church pipeline. With political temperatures hitting fever pitch over the recent display of intolerance, President Kenyatta, who addressed a roadside rally after the service, called for tolerance among political actors and their supporters ahead of the August elections.
Usifanye siasa ya kugombanisha watu. Mimi nawauliza jameni. Mimi hata kwetu kule Gatondo Ishaweri, si munaona wanakuja kunitukania kwa mlango yangu. Mimi nawaangalia tu nasema Mungu waacha, mimi sina shida. Kwa sababu mtu ambaye anafikiria ya kwamba matusi ndio itampatia kura, ngoja ataona ashangae. Ya? Mimi nikisema naunga baba mkono, mimi sisemi mwingine ni umbaya, lakini kura yangu mimi najua pahali nataka iende. Ama namna gani? Si hiyo ni haki yangu? Nimekosea?
Reacting to Friday's attack on Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate Raila Odinga's chopper, President Kenyatta said political intolerance was a recipe for chaos.
Kama kitu ingetokea hapo, hiyo jiwe iwe imeipiga huyo mzee, si hiyo ni moto ungewaka taifa letu la Kenya? Tunataka mambo kama haya. Watu waombe kura kwa njia ya heshima na amani. Si namna hiyo. Kutangaza msimamo ya mtu sio kufanya wewe ni adui yake, ni msimamo wako tu.
The head of state appealing to Kenyans to maintain peace and shun those keen on causing mayhem.
Sasa jameni, jiulize. Ukiwa wewe umechukua mawe ama umechukua panga kukatakata mwenzako, badala ya kugojea miaka 5 uweze urudie, wewe ni mtu ambaye amepotea. Umepotea.
The president also sought to explain the current hardships that include the fuel shortage and the increased cost of living, blaming it on the current war between Russia and Ukraine.
Fertilizer imepanda, bei ya mafuta imepanda, na pia kumekuwa hata shortage ya mafuta. Na waomba tuwaombee hawa wenzetu wawache hizo vita, kwa sababu wakuumia ni sisi. Wakuumia ni sisi, wananchi wa Afrika, Asia na kule kwingine ambao wanategemea hayo mafuta na mambo mengine kwa maendeleo yetu.
All right. Certain things the president talked about. Nikisema naunga mtu mkono does not mean that the other person is bad. Actually, that's what's it's captured here on the story. I'll give you that newspaper briefly. But the president said that, that's immature politics. Let me start with you now, Dr. just to get your salutation, even as we welcome to the show now officially. Good morning.
Morning. How are you, Victor?
I'm fantastic.
Thank
What do
you
you make of that story, according to the president?
I would like to say something in relation to what my brother here has said.
Yes.
I think, one, our people should know that violence is evil, especially political violence of whatever form. Violence cannot be justified if it's exercised by a legitimate authority and legally founded. But when we want to argue that if Condemning was not condemned adequately, And if Migori was not condemned adequately, are we saying that we can justify any form of violence? No, we shouldn't. And we are moving closer and closer to the elections.
Yes.
And Eldoret in itself is a hot spot. It's actually a hot spot. I think if you ask we still remember Kiambaa and other places.
Yes.
It's a hot spot. If you ask security agencies, they will tell you one of the hot spots is Eldoret. And it showed its ugly face. While Odinga was there was no provocation. It was not even a political rally. It is a barrio. You know, it looks like there are some people, and politicians should stop. Some people are using violence to scare people. And we have been in this country for long enough. We know what happened in 1992, 1997, 2007, 2008. All this, we have been here. And this is how it begins. And then the intolerance grows as we move closer to the elections.
Yes.
And people will make claims that our votes have been stolen and all this has been done. I would say that some of the violence that we experienced, like we saw in Eldoret, it seemed to have been executed with a plan. In fact, I did research in the 2008, 2007, 2008, and in some places violence was planned. In others, violence was spontaneous. In some cases, like Kondere, and I saw also in Migori
Yes.
and other places.
Honorable Jimmy Wanchiki?
Yeah, you could see, particularly the one I saw in Kisumu, even in Mbakasi, youths are running after each other. They're running after each other. The others are frustrated, kind of.
Yes.
I don't want to justify any for whatever reason that they were doing that violence. It's wrong, and politicians must shun violence. Whoever instigated that violence. Recently, my brother has talked about the border borders. Border borders meted violence on that lady. Honestly, they have meted violence on us. I will tell you, they made violence on me in Bomet, if people are listening. A border hits me from the behind. I stop on a traffic jam. I hold the bike. They come, wrestle the bike out and they release him. And then they start saying, Choma Gari. You know, I was threatened. My kids were in the car. We cannot justify any form of violence. And when someone stands and says, what about I should go to the police station and pick their bikes? You want them to be shot? You know, I looked at her and said, this is not the time we should encourage anybody to retaliate or anybody to use violence to achieve any political ends or whatever ends want to achieve.
Yes.
So I would say the president came out to just to condemn. I think it's the right time that every leader in this country, what that name, should condemn any form of violence, particularly related to politics. Because I don't think I did not steal anybody's thing. Then we say it's more violence against a thief or whatever. Even that one is not justifiable. There is a law. So we shouldn't. And when he condemns it, it should be condemned by everyone else. I saw William Ruto coming up and condemning it. Many people have condemned this kind of violence across the board. That is the way to go. And the state must take its place and stop this kind of violence that we are seeing in
But
our
you see
country.
now, Dr. We'll be speaking on end, but legally speaking, we've never seen any serious action, any visible action taken against any perpetrators. You know, Honorable Kositanyi will record a statement, Honorable Sudi will record a statement, and the Speaker and a few guys will be arrested here and there, but we don't see tangible action taken against them, actually to deter, the same way which was taken against the the guys along Forest Road. Right now, there's some sense of sanity that has come to that particular sector. A few 3-4 days ago, I witnessed an accident between a motorist and a motorcycle. Do you know what was happening? Everybody was going about their business. Everybody was going about their business. So, some sense of action not taken?
I agree with you, Victor, and I agree with my seniors, whom I am very privileged to share the same platform with.
Yes.
Them, that we cannot tolerate violence, whether political or whichever kind of violence. The state or the government has the duty to protect North, Don Bosco Gichana, and other scenarios whereby you have seen the government, the security system has not been able to properly and sufficiently manage those political situations. Of course, when it comes to the border sector, for example, and many people have been blaming them for all this manner of violence, because sometimes they are hired, others go there just to participate, and then now they want to take advantage of the situation. I think it is high time that the government, and especially now the National Police Service, ups their game and protects the citizens. Yes. Because you see, the way we have said, even if after summoning Caleb Kositani, Oscar Sudi, and the speaker, and they gather all the evidence, chances are there will not be enough evidence to prosecute those particular individuals. You saw what happened in was it in Kericho when Mithika Linturi was in Eldoret. Yes, he was taken to court. Eventually, we are not saying that he must have been convicted, but there was no enough evidence. Even the border issue which happened here in Forest Road, the guy was taken after a lot of work of looking for him. He was taken to court. Then he was released because there was no enough evidence. I think it is the duty of the National Police Service, to undertake a sufficient investigation. Because even if you take somebody to court, the court will rely on the evidence which has been brought by the prosecution. So I think the government, and especially, and I liked what the CS for Interior said the other day, that them as civil servants, they have to leave politics and do their work as civil servants, because it is that particular ministry which has the whole duty of protecting Kenyans in this period. And I also saw what the PS said, Karanja Kibicho, that the issues of hate speech, they may have to suspend them for now. Then I was shocked, how can you suspend such issues? Because those hate speech remarks are the ones which provoke people to go into these violences. And I agree with Dr. Bosire on the issue of sometimes we have planned violence and others are spontaneous.
Yes. And Dr. We should be very much afraid, because when it starts like this, it spirals into a behavior now. Because it happened in location X, it happened in location Y, now it's going to happen in location Z. All of a sudden, it's happening in the whole country.
Let me tell you, Lo, whatever happened in Eldoret, and whatever has happened everywhere in this country, violent is violent. And whoever instigated the violence, I think we should term them rightfully as goons in those areas. You see, I saw a lot of talks when it was after the stoning of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga's helicopter. Now the whole insinuation, it was as if the Kalenjins were fighting Raila. That was not the true position.
No, I don't think so.
No. What I'm telling you is what the reflection on the ground. Let me take you to a small issue. I had a mechanic who happens to be a Luo, a close friend of mine. When I met with him yesterday, he said, Rotich, you are very lucky. I never met you the other day when Raila's helicopter was stoned. I would have stoned you. These are small men whom we are talking while we are joking. But I want to tell you, that is how these people are taking this thing on the ground, literally. So they are not digesting the way you are digesting like me. We can discuss all these things and leave it as a discussion. But Kenyans at the lower ebb may just make the whole mountain out of a small hill. So, and that is the reason why whenever we are talking about such kind of acts of violence, we must treat them as individual, as to the limit of those people who caused the violence. And that is why whenever, like now, those who stoned the helicopter, they must be taken to the full force of the law.
Absolutely.
And those culprits must be, they should be known in Kenya that these are the people who did. And bringing on board people like Kosita. Of course, I don't want to preempt the investigation that is going on. Talk of Kosita, talk of Honorable Sudi, talk of the Honorable Speaker. In my own imagination, although I don't think that people such caliber could have thought of hyping a plan to stone an aeroplane or rather an helicopter. It is not there. And us Kalenjins, I'm a Kalenjin, let me just inform you today. But we respect the dead to the maximum. I'm telling you, no, let me just whisper to you. I want to take you back to where I come from.
Yes.
We respect the dead, and we respect the visitors who come to mourn with us. Doing such a thing has never been anywhere in the Kalenjin land. And that whatever happened on that day, I wish the investigation will come out in real terms. And there is something that you said about why we have not been pinning down the culprits.
Yes.
You see, when the investigation is skewed and is done politically, where when you take these guys to the court, whatever the courts are demanding are evidence of what really transpired. And if it was a politically instigated kind of mind, the investigation that was done under some guidance of political difference, you will not get the answer. When you go to the court, that thing will have to be quashed out.
Then who should take the blame? If you don't take the answer, we don't get the answer.
That is what
be the real.
No. What I'm saying, investigation should be scientific as much as possible. Let you unearth the culprits by following the real scientific way of investigating a matter. That will serve as evidence in the court of law. But when you are doing investigation while having political difference in your mind, you will never get anywhere. And that is what is most happening.
I'm quite interested in understanding this because, Doctor, before I come to you, Wakili, IEBC has to play a very pivotal role here.
Yes.
Because we've had a couple of, legislators presenting before IBC for questioning and what have you. But then, should there be a legal framework again that should deter each and every politician that if you are found culpable of, mistake X and Y, then this is the repercussion?
Yes.
But as we see, most of them go scot-free.
I agree with you. And the Elections Act is very clear that
Yes.
Once a candidate engages in any form of violence targeted to their opponents or members of the public, then they are automatically disqualified. But now, as Dr. Rotich
The keyword
said,
is automatically.
Yes. But now, as Dr. Rotich has said, the issue is now getting the evidence. Yeah? Because the issue, these political leaders, most of them don't directly plan or execute those
proxies.
Exactly, they do it through proxies. So there's no direct connection, and whenever there's direct connection, they will try to justify as to why this and this happened. And I partly agree with Dr. Rotich and partly agree with Dr. Bosire on the issue of blame game. You see what happened to the deputy president in Kondele, for example, and also we saw the same happening to him in Moranga.
Yes.
At the time, you think his convoy was stopped. Yeah, and to be honest, at that point, you did not hear the government coming out in full force and condemning those people who perpetrated those kind of violences. But now, after what happened in Eldoret on the former prime minister, you saw even the president himself came out and spoke against it. And I think whether somebody is a former prime minister, a deputy president, or any senior leader, all of us are Kenyans. Yeah, small innocent people every day face violence. Absolutely. But do you hear the government even talking about them? No.
Yes.
I think it is high time that there needs to be a fair playing ground. Because you see now, when you heard Caleb Constant yesterday, he was saying they are just politically targeted. Yeah. Of course, over time, the DCI, the police service, there have been all those manner of political accusations that they are being
they know when they say they are politically targeted, the whole case takes a different turn.
Exactly.
Yes.
But now, if they are professional, they will be able now to differentiate politics and do their professional work, get all the evidence, because the IBC, for them to disqualify a candidate who has been doing violence, they will need evidence. Where will they get that evidence?
Okay.
Yes.
Dr. Bosire, you know what happens? The president had to come out clearly because most of the politicians, they use choppers, to campaign. That is given. It's a busy season for all of them, crisscrossing from one corner of the country to the next. So you can imagine, we have got 50, 200 choppers flying this particular country at a go, and we have got stoning happening left, right, and center. You can imagine the kind of a nation we would have at the end of the day.
Victor,
yes,
I think for me it's scary.
It's scary.
It's scary because people, when even, let alone choppers, when I'm driving home, I should feel safe. I should feel safe. First, it's a feeling. Actually, security is about more of what we feel about a people, as a people or as an individual. What I feel, if I feel safe. Someone will say it's safe, but I might not go there or go to a particular place. We should have that safety and that feeling of safety and protection by the state. Because the state is actually, its responsibility, as again you said, is mainly property protection of lives and property. Let alone our liberties also, which should be protected by the state. But if the state doesn't, then who will? The other issue is, but also ourselves, we have a responsibility. We have a responsibility. Now, when people are incited to violence and there is no evidence, my brother here is a lawyer. Sometimes I find that lawyers will not provide all the solutions that we need. They'd go to court and say there's no evidence here, that you cannot link directly this, but we know and we have seen videos that this guy actually stabbed the other guy.
Given you're on the spot on behalf of your colleagues. This
guy, like the Bada thing.
Yes.
This guy actually did what they did, and there is a video, and they say it's inadmissible. But then look at it. How do we find redress, and how do we get justice for the people who have been violated? You know, the law itself cannot bring this, and that's why I suggest that we must use non-legal means to solve our problems. Perhaps shaming. I like what the DP said. We deny them nominations, tickets to stand on those political parties. If it's UDA, if it's Jubilee, if it's ODM, those who are perpetrating violence, we can deal with them that way. Particularly kind of legal means or community approaches towards violence. And again, people get emboldened, Victor, when these things happen, and it will keep on spiraling. It keeps on going up, because if nothing happens today, like the Rintuli thing, nothing happened. Someone else will do, nothing happens. As we move closer to elections, people will feel like nothing will ever happen to them. 2000 to 2008, how many people were prosecuted? Whether the International Criminal Court and found guilty or locally. But didn't our people die? Didn't Kenyans die? Over 1,200 people die in this country? They did. So we must actually, as a people, make a decision to shun violence, condemn this violence. For me, it doesn't matter at what time you are condemning. If one of your child messed up yesterday and another one messes up and you beat this one, it's not that, why didn't you beat that? If we start talking like that, then we lose it. You lose discipline in the family. we lose it. And when they talk, I listened to Sudi and Caleb Kostani. When you mention from your own mouth, investigations are going on, and you say this is politics. But what is politics? Do our people understand what politics is? Politics is serious business. Politics is about influence. They want to get it to become more influential by being elected. Politics is about resource distribution. That's why people are supporting their own people, thinking that when you have a deputy president from Rift Valley, for instance, or from Nyanza or from Central, the resources will come your way. There is a feeling, there is an understanding that actually politics has an impact on how resources are distributed. And it's true. That is what we teach. Politics is about influence, and influential is about who gets what, when, and how. This is about distribution of resources in society. It is true, it is. But then when you say this is politics, when it's violence, so it's politics. You are using violence as a means.
They know how to run around with it.
Yeah, they know, because nothing perhaps will happen, because the the lawyers in this country, and the law is the way perhaps it is in this country. You cannot pin down. Why I don't know. Nobody has gone to Parliament and say admissible video clips are admissible in court as evidence in courts.
Wakili knows why.
So that
knows why.
We are able to deal with this monster once and for all. But the way we are going, and I wish that we do not say that that one was not condemned and this one should not condemn, because for me it emboldens them, those who are perpetrating violence, to continue. But I wish that the state will pin down those who are directly responsible, whether by planning or executing, so that from now on people would understand this serious matter. and also the promise made by the DP.
Let me quote what the president said yesterday, and I quote, "Why stone Baba's helicopter? What did that helicopter do to you? What if something happened? What if that stone hit him? Don't you think Kenya would be burning by now?" These are so many questions from the same person. Question 1, why stone Baba's helicopter? Question 1. What did that helicopter do to you? Question number 2. What if something happened? Question 3. What if that stone hit him? Question 4. Don't you think Kenya will be burning by now? 5 questions.
Yes, Victor. Let me mention something.
5 questions from the
Let me
same
mention
person.
something.
Yes.
You know, sometimes I also find, there is fighting in Pokot and other places.
Yeah.
What if someone fires it in the air and it tumbles down and kills the occupants? What will we be talking about? Everyone, these politicians are flying all over. If it happened, for example, to Ruto, what happens? It's an important question. We should stop. For me,
yes,
it's like, stop this violence, otherwise plunge the country into chaos.
5 questions coming from the president. First of all, he started Baba. Why stone Baba's helicopter? Wakili, 5 questions from the same. Perhaps it's just paraphrased, but you can imagine the duration. You know, perhaps it came in within 20-30 seconds, 5 questions, right? Yes, go ahead.
And I think we all respect the personal right of the president to have his choice for presidency. And of course, clearly we know that the president's choice for president is Raila. However, the questions he's asking are genuine questions,
and they're waiting.
Valid questions, and they are waiting. Because, for example, why should you wake up and go and stone an helicopter? If it catches fire, everybody there will... Yes. And if, for example, you hit the Honorable Raila with that stone, and something happens to him, we must appreciate that Raila is a senior leader in this country. He has a big following. And if you touch him, you're actually touching so many people. And there can be a very big violence. And I think the same applies to the deputy president and other senior leaders. I think the president was right in condemning what happened in Eldoret. However, of course, for political reasons, people are also questioning why he did not, with the same energy, question what happened to the deputy president. But I think we must appreciate that as the head of state, even though he has his preferred presidential candidate, he has the responsibility to protect the rights of all Kenyans. So I think what I can maybe require more from the president is for him to also differentiate his personal interest of campaigning for Raila, and also now the duty of ensuring that there's law and order in the country.
There must be a very thin line. There must be a very thin line. He knows exactly what you're saying. He's very much aware of that fact.
And in response to what Dr. Bosire said with regards to employing other means of helping fight this kind of violence, I agree with him, because law is very technical and procedural.
People say that's like amoeba. It doesn't have
because
shape.
Now, for you to get enough, if that's somebody who took a stone and threw at the helicopter, do we have evidence connected? As a police officer, you can see someone doing that with your own eyes, but that person will go to court and say, "Where's the evidence? I did not throw that stone."
Doctor, you answered.
Yes, and I think it's high time.
So no violence occurred.
So they will say
there will be no violence.
So they will say there was no violence, and I agree with Dr. that we need to have. And I agree with when I saw the provost for All Saints, Samuel Nena. And I think it is the duty of every sector in the country, the clergy. Even leave alone the politicians. All people must wake up and now try to condemn these manner of violences. These people who go to rallies and throw stones, they have families.
Okay.
What if their parents or their friends condemn them for doing that? But you see all this manner of political influence, and the people, of course, know that even if you arrest me, there will be no charges which will succeed against me. They will continue doing that.
Okay, you know what, Wakili? Legally, we are supposed to be doing some stuff here, Kimpango. So let me also take a break. And we come back. Doctor, I'll give you a last word on that. Then we talk about the issue of the nominations it already started to create some fire across the political divide, and starting this month, we are seeing many political parties now going to the primaries and picking their preferred candidates. Now, let's take a break and we come back. We have got two doctors and a lawyer in studio to help us discuss these matters. We'll be right back.